We got this from the Post Millennial. Internet explodes with memes after Mike Pence commits career suicide in an interview with Tucker Carlson. Following Pence's, social media exploded on Friday after former Vice President Mike Pence spoke with Tucker Carlson at the summit in Iowa, claiming that American cities are, quote, not my concern, while reiterating his support for the U.S. sending more tanks to Ukraine. Now, I want to play this clip, make sure I actually play the full clip, because when I first saw it, I felt like we weren't getting the proper context. And this might not actually be the full context. So, well, let's just play this clip and see if we have it, and then we'll talk about it. Is it playing? Oh, come on, Twitter. We love Twitter, but not when that happens. All right, where's the audio at? Right there, actually. All right. And now I am, there we go.
Don't have enough.
Here we go.
You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern. I'm running for president of the United States because I think this country's in a lot of trouble. I think Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. And as President of the United States, we're going to restore law and order in our cities. We're going to secure our border. We're going to get this economy moving again. And we're going to make sure that we have men and women on our courts at every level that will stand for the right to life and defend all the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution. Anybody that says that we can't be the leader of the free world and solve our problems at home has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth. We can do both.
So before the show, when we were watching this, the question was, did he literally just say that American cities are not his concern? And Phil, do you want to give your point of view on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that he was answering the previous time that Tucker said, was referring to his concern. So Tucker says, you're concerned with Ukraine and giving money to Ukraine, et cetera. And then Tucker goes on to say there's all these problems at home. And then Tucker uses the phrase concern again. I think that Pence was replying to the first time that Tucker used concern, because then Pence goes on to talk about the problems in the United States, and stuff.
But what's the finality of his statement?
He does talk about Ukraine, but
he says, if you think we can't be the leader of the free world, then you got a small view.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. Like, I hear what you're saying. And part of me is like, maybe we give him the benefit of the doubt, but I can't do it.
I'm not giving him, I wouldn't vote for his ass anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like,
who would?
I mean, seriously. So,
I do think it's funny that everybody, this is going viral. There's like 50,000 tweets in the past couple hours or whatever. And I'm just like, ain't nobody was going to vote for this guy in the first place.
Like, I mean, he's what's he trending at on
prediction market? 3 cents.
Yeah.
He's below Nikki Haley.
This is barely worth it's only worth talking about for jokes, or to discuss what did people mean.
There goes Vivek. My stars and garters, my friends. We just refreshed this to pull up Mike Pence's numbers. Vivek Ramaswamy is nearly tied with Ron DeSantis. Ron dropping down now to 15 cents, with Vivek skyrocketing to 13, up 3, with Ron down 1. Wow. Closing it on second place. These are not polls. These are prediction markets. There is a slight correlation, obviously, with polling. But these are people making bets on who they think is going to win. And what you're basically seeing is real-time, I would say, decentralized computing power as to what may actually happen. So these prediction markets have a tendency to be correct, but it's not absolute. What do you think?
On the prediction market or
on all of it? I don't know. Mike Pence.
Mike Pence. I think I think his statement's the equivalent of going home telling your wife that, hey, she didn't mean anything. The cashier who checked me out, was pretty professional. So it doesn't really matter what you say after that statement. It did a lot of damage.
And it doesn't really acknowledge that I think he's missing his base, right? That people here, especially people who would already be more inclined to vote for him than, say, someone on the left, don't want us in Ukraine and they don't want us involved in a bunch of globalist nonsense. So he's missing the mark anyways by talking about whether the fact that we can do both. People don't want you focusing on both. They want you focusing here at home right now.
Yeah, I don't care if we send tanks to Ukraine, personally.
You don't?
You mean you don't care if we're doing it, as in you don't care to do it?
No. I don't care to send weapons of mass destruction over to a country.
It sounded like you were saying, let them do it. I don't care.
Oh, no. Yeah. Thanks for
Everybody's
that
like,
clarification. I don't want my tax dollars fighting another person.
You almost pulled a Mike Pence there.
Yes. Political suicide. Well, I'm a libertarian, so it's kind of hard to kill me off.
That's why I was like, what?
So ultimately, I think the big news yesterday, which we only talked about a little bit, Joe Biden calling in reserves, selected reserves and ready reserves to be sent to Europe.
Yep.
I'm sorry, man. Our culture today does not support this kind of foreign intervention.
No.
It's just, for whatever reason, you know what I think it is? I think Ron Paul has a lot to do with it. I think Ron Paul was speaking up in the late 2000s to a lot of young people my age, and not to mention combined with the anti-war stuff that was coming during the Bush years. And then all of a sudden we're like, you got Democrats saying no war. You got Ron Paul running as a Republican saying no war. Hey, you know what? Most of us agree with that position and don't see a good reason for U.S. intervention overseas. We look back at history. We look at what the founding fathers thought of this. And we say, ultimately, yeah, we shouldn't be doing it. Now that's a big problem for the neocons and the neolibs and people like Mike Pence who are like, we're leaders of the free world. Yeah, what he's really saying is your labor, the work you do every day, when you look at your paycheck and you see that negative number for income tax, it's going to bombs and guns and tanks. And now they're deploying more U.S. personnel, the reserves. That's terrifying. To be sent to Europe for this, what is it, Atlantic Resolve or whatever it's called? Why? How about our borders? How about our roads? And that's exactly what Tucker was saying to Mike Pence. I got to tell you,
this is not his concern.
If he couldn't navigate that question properly, and he had to, imagine this. It's like you nailed it when you said she didn't mean that much to me, to your wife. Mike Pence is basically saying, to the face of all of these people begging to know why our money is going overseas, don't worry, it's somewhat worth it for some vague and nebulous reason, but I'll take care of the rest too. It's exactly as you described, telling your wife, don't worry, she doesn't mean anything to me.
Establishment Republicans are trying to have their cake and eat it too. They really want to, because there are still hawks in the Republican Party that want to see the United States be an expansive power, and they want to see the United States return to a situation similar to probably prior to the Iraq War.
They love the Bush years too.
Yeah. So I mean, to think that he's not trying to play to both, I think is probably misguided, because like he has to get Trump's voters, hypothetically, if he's going to win, he has to convince enough Trump voters, and he has to convince people in the middle. People in the middle are not going to be compelled by a guy that's essentially a religious fundamentalist, or borderline at least. He's a very religious person. I don't know if we call him fundamentalist, but whatever. He's very religious.
I don't think so. I think he's like stock neocon with a religious tint for the purpose of getting votes.
Well, yeah, he was the reason why it was such a good thing for Trump, right? Because he colored him in just the way he
supposed to be
the
establishment. But he was also supposed to be the guy that made it okay for the evangelicals to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason why they picked him too, is because of his kind of. I mean, I had a bunch of friends that are progressives that were like, "No, really, he tried to shock the gay out of people when Pence got elected, or when Trump got elected." So like, there was a whole lot of people that were afraid of it, at least afraid of his religious bona fides or whatever. But he's got to get the middle, and I don't think that there's any I don't see a path for him just overall. I don't see how he gets the middle and satisfies Trump voters and stuff who want nothing to do with Ukraine, and also satisfies like the FAFO morons on Twitter, It's
antithetical to the populist movement that's going on right now, which is very, very anti-war.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people I think there's a lot of people for some reason who like Pence who are like, come on, he didn't really mean that. And it's just, my response to that is like, okay, fine, fair point, whatever, if that's what you want to believe. But in the world of politics, let's just talk superficially. Pence he just stumbled on a black sandbag on stage and fell down in front of everybody.
Doesn't matter if that's what he wanted you to believe or even what he even meant. It's what matters is what people take from what you said. And the moment you give them a soundbite that juicy, it doesn't matter what you meant because history won't remember it.
He just fell up the stairs.
Yeah, see.
3 times in a row. But I mean, look. I mean, who likes Mike Pence? What does he have to offer us? But for real, can we name any real policy of Pence's? I can tell you this. I know one policy of his: more money and weapons for Ukraine.
Never go into a room with a woman without your wife there. That's the only policy of his I remember.
Look, that's some like if you're trying to if you're in DC and trying to navigate DC, it's probably not a bad idea.
It's a very good idea.
Yeah, the Pence rule.
That's the only thing I remember though. That's
Mike Pence was basically whispering you, hey, dude, it's Me Too era.
Yeah.
Make sure your wife is with you at all times.
Yeah.
And then they attack him for that reason, probably.
Yeah.
Because, some of these weirdos want to lie, cheat, and steal and accuse people of all sorts of nasty stuff.
They made a whole big deal about him calling his wife mother. Because it was with are you not allowed to go to dinner? You have mother and blah, blah, blah,
And then Kavanaugh happens and they wonder why it was such a big deal. Like, oh, shocking.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.